Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video presentation brought to you by yours truly, Mr. Young. We're going to be building right off of what we did yesterday with the multiplication properties of exponents and going into the division properties of exponents. What I think you'll find is that if yesterday made sense, today is going to make perfect sense. And if yesterday was a little confusing, we're going to review it a little bit before we jump into new stuff, so hopefully that'll help clarify any questions you were having after yesterday's lesson. So, get your notes ready, pen and pencil, all that fun stuff, and we should be ready to get started here. Allow, please. Google is in full screen. Wonderful. So, division properties. Lesson overview. Number one, we're going to be able to multiply monomials by the same or with the same base, and that's just what we did yesterday. Then we're going to add on to that dividing monomials with the same base, taking the power of a quotient, and remember quotient means divide. So in other words, if we have a fraction, okay, so like x squared over y squared, and then we want to take that to another power, so x squared over y squared cubed, what we're going to do with that. Then we're going to simplify monomials with an exponent of 0. So in other words, x squared to the 0 power. And then finally, we're going to remove negative exponents so that we can make them positive. Seems like a lot, but again, like I said yesterday, and you'll notice this is the exact same slide from yesterday, you can handle it. And it's all fairly intuitive once you get your hands in it for a little bit. Like, it's a little much at first, but once you see what you're actually doing, oh, okay, it'll make more sense. All right, we're going to start right off with a video. Again, we're going to hear from Mr. Gill yesterday, presented about the multiplication laws. Now he's going to talk about the division laws. So take notes. You're going to use the back of the note sheet first today. This is the one that says vid sheet at the top, I believe. This is his worksheet, and I give him all the credit for creating it because I certainly did not. So watch the video, follow through the notes just like you did yesterday, and when it's done, whoever's in charge is going to pause it, and then we'll be able to resume our presentation. So go ahead and pause this video, open up the second video, and watch that one. Okay, hopefully that was enough time to pause. Now, what I want to do is summarizing his video. He was reiterating what we talked about yesterday, which was that multiplying the exponents means adding the exponents, and then dividing exponents means subtracting the exponents. Go figure. Multiply, add, divide, subtract. They kind of go right together, and it just kind of makes sense that way. He showed you how the math works, why it works, kind of proved it to you. But what you have to remember is if you see multiplication, you're thinking adding the exponents, and if you see dividing, you're thinking subtract the exponents. Special cases. Okay, the first thing we're going to talk about is the negative exponent. Okay, now remember, there was a couple examples where Mr. Gill got a negative exponent for the answer. So these are screenshots from his video where he got 5 to the negative 4 power and x to the negative 1 power. That's fine for what he was doing, but we are going to go ahead and get rid of those negative numbers because they actually signify something a little different. So we're going to look at a couple examples. So looking first, his 5 to the negative 4th, or sorry, yeah, to the negative 4th power, that becomes 1 over 5 to the 4th power. Meanwhile, x to the negative 1 power, which you probably recognize as x inverse, well, then we're going to actually invert that 1 over x to the first power, or just 1 over x. So, what have we done here? Well, we've flipped the fraction and taken off the negative sign. Okay, it's kind of like, well, we won't get into that. But we go from negative to positive, but now it's in the denominator. Go from negative to positive, now it's in the denominator. And then, of course, x to the first power is just x. So you see a negative exponent, then you're flipping it down into the denominator. Okay? Now, anybody know this movie? It's Home Alone. Hopefully you all answered at home. I don't think the audio will play, but it's just a short clip. He's screaming because he notices there's a negative exponent in the denominator. Okay, so now it's on the bottom. Well, what does that do? Well, now we've got x to the negative 4th on the bottom, but it's cool. Just watch. This is supposed to click up piece by piece, but we go from 1 over x to the negative 4th to x to the positive 4th. So in other words, what have we done? We have flipped the fraction and taken off the negative sign. We did the exact same thing, except now the negative went from the bottom up to the top and became positive, okay? Notice, I even tell you, I copied and pasted this. It's still the same thing, just in reverse. Okay, so remember, you see a negative exponent, you flip it, and you move it around to the opposite side of the fraction bar. Okay, and also remember, if there is no fraction bar, that means it's going down and there's a 1 underneath. So now it comes up top. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too confusing. And again, feel free to pause at any point. You know, if we're moving too fast, ask the sub nicely. Can we pause? He or she will do it, and won't be a problem. One more thing with negative exponents. What if I have one on both? Well, x to the negative third, goes down to the bottom. Y to the negative 2, goes up top. Hope you appreciate those sound effects. Those are coming from the heart. So you can read that there. I'll leave this up for a minute just so you can get that copied down. On the next slide, I'll show you what it looks like in the end. X to the negative third over y to the negative 2 becomes y squared over x cubed. Okay, flip the signs, flip the fraction. Should sound a little familiar from something we've done in the past. We were finding opposite reciprocals. Now we're dealing with these inverses. I don't want to give you too much vocabulary right now. Just understand negative, flip, and they switch places. Okay, next special case, power of the quotient. Okay, if we take a quotient, which is a fraction, to another power, so for example, y squared divided by x cubed, which, yes, is pretty much the same one from before. But now we're going to take that y squared and x cubed, and we're going to square all of that. So then what we do is we take the top and the bottom to that power. So now y squared over x cubed, all squared, becomes y to the fourth over x to the ninth. And realize, based on our rules that we learned in the last section, y squared is y to the 2 times 2. X cubed squared is x to the 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay, so we're multiplying our powers here, just like we did in the previous section, section 7.1, but now we're doing it on the top of the fraction and the bottom of the fraction as well. So you just have to make sure you do it both. I kind of like to think of it like distributing. Okay, anytime I see a power on the outside of a grouping symbol, whether it's, brackets or parentheses or braces or even absolute value, although we won't get into that right now, I think of it as distributed. So I have to do this squared and this squared. Everything has to get squared. Last thing is the zero power. And this basically says, and this is right out of the textbook, but basically what it says is that if you take a number, any number, and take it to the zero power, it equals 1. Okay? So simply put, anything to the zero power equals 1. So you'll see they have this example here. They have this big, nasty mess of a monomial, but we look, there's the parentheses, and there's a 0. That means I'm going to take everything on the inside to the zero power, and the zero power of everything is 1. You multiply anything by itself 0 times, you get 1. Okay? Now you see this example here, x to the 5th, y to the 0 over x cubed. Well, x to the 5th is just, x to the 5th stays the same, but y to the 0 power is just 1, so we replace that. Now we're left with just x to the 5th over x cubed. X to the 5 divided by x to the 3. That's a division, so we can subtract them, and we end up with x squared. Okay, this is on page 400 of your textbook, so you can look at it. They've got these examples here. The pink letters are the answer, because I took this right out of the answer key, or out of the teacher's edition. So you've got this here as a resource. You don't necessarily need to copy this down, but what you do want to have somewhere in your notes. Whoops. Can I go back? Oh, Lord. There we go. You do want to have this a to the 0 equals 1, or something about any number to the 0 power equals 1. You definitely want to have that down in your notes. Closing thoughts, as you probably saw. These are basically the same notes from yesterday, okay? I know I just dumped a lot on you, but it's going to be okay. I'll be back on Monday to fill in the questions, but right now your goal is to try the practice problems for homework. Okay, we will do on this more in this next class. Do the homework. Do the homework. Practice it. It'll come to you as you keep working on it. Finally, go to Schoology. All these videos, all these slideshows from yesterday and today are there for you. Okay, Mr. Young, I know you told me to do this yesterday, but I still haven't signed up for Schoology. Bam! I copy and paste the slide again. So, videos available on YouTube. You can access all that stuff by getting onto your Schoology. Third hour, there's your access code. Fourth hour, there's your access code. Get on it. Use this stuff, guys. It's what it's there for. Sources you guys don't have to worry about. And that's that. So, let's get out of here. Give me a minute. Okay, sorry, I forgot I could pause. But here's our daily agenda for if I were to be here. So we've already done all this. Right now you're worried about homework. 1 through 17 odds, section 7.2. Page 402 is where we're starting. And we'll just keep this short, okay? Not too many problems with this. We will hit some more when I get back. A couple of those monsters we'll look at on Monday as part of our review. So if you have questions, make note of them and be ready to ask them on Monday. I cannot wait to answer them. I can't wait to see you guys again. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful weekend.